Good morning, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project and Magnetic Reversal News, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Thursday, December 5th, 11 a.m. Mountain Time 2019. We're looking at the next 5 days out here on the GFS model, and it's showing snow across the entire northern tier, heavy snow moving into the Mountain West. Keep calm. It's boom time. Lake effect snow for Thursday. There's a winter weather advisory for another hour or so across the Tug Hill where 3 to 5 inches of snow could fall. And lake effect snow, we're going to get to that, has been on the rise. And that's a fact. 2 more waves of snow for upstate New York. Lake effect, then a clipper. Syracuse, New York, largely 3 types of storms are getting hit with. Nor'easters, clippers, and lake effect. And the lake effect snow started Wednesday with Buffalo picking up 4.5 inches of snow off of Lake Erie by midnight. Today, the winds shift to the west-northwest, and Syracuse and Tug Hill are expected to get a few inches as the cold air blows across the mostly unfrozen Lake Ontario. Friday morning, a clipper system is expected to blow through Canada that could drop 2 to 3 inches of additional snow in the afternoon and evening, and even generate a couple of inches of additional lake effect snow as the system drags more cold air across the Great Lakes. Heads up, upstate New York. Now we move to the west. Atmospheric river sweeps in behind the bomb cyclone as heavy rain batters California and Arizona with much needed moisture. It's mostly over there, the initial blast. So heads up there because a second system is coming to bury you up in the mountains. Storm brings fresh snow to Southern California mountains. This is associated with that atmospheric river where it snowed in the higher elevations quite spectacularly. So heads up if you're living in the Sierras for the next few days. It's going to continue to snow. Massive storm looming over the Pacific to wreak havoc up and down the west coast starting Friday. After one system walloped Southern California and Arizona just yesterday with heavy rain and high country snow, a much larger storm is set to slam central and northern California with a wide array of impacts Friday into Saturday. Although the center of the storm system will move ashore in Oregon later Saturday into Saturday night, the worst of the impacts will occur farther to the south. Heavy rain, gusty winds will target coastal areas from San Francisco northward into southern Oregon, spanning Friday into Saturday, as well as the Central Valley's I-5 corridor from Sacramento to Redding. Take a look at this. Storm arrives Friday, windy on the coast, flash flooding, 2 to 4 feet of snow in the Sierras, snow in the passes, travel disruptions. The foothills of the Sierras will also be hard hit with flooding downpours during this time. If you're in a burn scar area, look out. There could be mud flows and mud floods and other things. So be prepared, not scared. Here's where winter has started strong. And let's see what they have to say.
It's time to talk snow again. Pretty safe bet we're going to see new records this winter in parts of the northern tier. And I'll tell you, it's been a snowy start to the 2019-20. Okay, everybody, it's time to talk snow again. Pretty safe bet we're going to see new records this winter in parts of the northern tier. And I'll tell you, it's been a snowy start to the 2019-2020 season. And one example we're talking about right now is Great Falls, Montana. They have had more than 4 times their average snowfall for this point in the year. With 5 feet of snow, Great Falls is just a couple inches off from what they would see in total for an average season, which is crazy. Now, this next map shows the snowfall in the U.S., and there are other cities, of course, besides Great Falls, where the snow has been really building up, such as cities in the Great Lakes region and also across northern New England. And all this gets tabulated into what's called the Accumulated Winter Season Severity Index from the Midwest Regional Climate Center. You may know it better as the Winter Misery Index. All the cities that you see in purple are the extremes, and the red dots are the mild areas. This index takes into account the persistence of cold, the frequency of snow, the actual snow totals from a storm, and the persistence of snow on the ground. Now, to see where your city stacks up, please head over and read the full article.
Well, it looks like the misery index is winning out. Heavy snow has set records this winter in parts of the northern tier. Did you read that? It's only December 5th on my calendar. December 21st is when winter starts in the U.S., but heavy snow has already dumped an entire season's worth of snow in many regions. Take a look at this chart. Havre, 37.2 inches of snow have fallen. 8 is the norm. 39 is the season. They already have the entire season's worth of snow before December 21st. There are 3 or 4 months of snow out here. Can you imagine the totals this year? Great Falls, at the season average already before winter, 14 inches normal to date at this time, quadrupling the normal snowfall. Helena, Montana, 19 inches, over double the normal to date. Bozeman, 18.1, crushing the normal to date and halfway to the seasonal average. And as the video suggested, the winter severity index, which is the misery index, which they've changed to severity, we're not even in winter, we're not even in the heart of winter, and it's already severe across the entire country. 46 of 48 states have seen snow already, and the snow cover is record in the upper 48. Now, I'm going to bring you over to a local region where Wolf Creek has 85 inches so far to date where I live. And I want to bring you over here to the historical snow report. 2 years ago, the snow ended March 31st, and it all melted. And there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 months without snow in the high country. Starting last year, as predicted, record snowfall above the yearly average of 455 to almost 500 inches last year, and the snow stayed on the mountain until the end of August. And then the snow began to build in mid-October. 55 days without snow in the high country. That's it. Not 5 months. 2 years ago. 55 days without snow last year. And this year is lining up the same as last year. The same amount of snow has fallen so far. We should peak over 500 inches. And it is my supposition that this spring, these two will overlap. And once these two overlap here, there's glaciation because you have snowpack blocked in from last year, which will then form ice on top of the new snowpack. Look how quickly this gap closed. From 5 months to 55 days. The next time, next spring, this spring, there may be no gap. Those are facts. Now let's check more facts. We don't like conjecture here. You can see the heavy lake effect snow and snow moving all the way down to West Virginia over the last 24 hours. Some snow in Vermont, upstate Dax here picking up some heavy snow. We have heavy snow showing up here in west central Colorado. Over 3 feet fell overnight. Places in Utah where those avalanche warnings are, more heavy snow. And then the heavy snow moving into the central Sierras here from Tahoe south. They picked up 12 to 24 inches of snow over the last 24 hours. Some snow in Seattle, a little bit in Montana here. And this snowy pattern over the next few days is going to be epic. And we will use our snowfall analyzer to guide you through it. Strong storm system to impact the west. A large, strong, and moist Pacific storms. Moist, they love that. Pacific storm system will impact a good portion of the west on Friday. Through the upcoming weekend, heavy rain, strong winds, heavy mountain snow, and rough surf can be expected. The heavy rain may result in some flash flooding on Friday and Saturday across northern portions of California and southwestern Oregon, especially near recent burn scars. Click on your county for warnings and watches. Links below. And now here we are just 6 days out. There's your snowfall regime for the next 6 days. Looks like in about a week's time, there'll be another storm system moving into the northeast. But the big winner is the west in the next few days over the weekend. So heads up there. Seismic update. No quakes to note. Thankfully, space weather is very calm. We are at the bottom of solar cycle 24 still, and we are deepening. And there's evidence for that. We've just come off of a 3-day period where over 48 of those hours were at KP0, the longest run of KP0 in decades. And we had postulated that there could potentially, at some point in the near future, be an entire week of KP0. But what we're seeing is that the geomagnetic activity is still bringing us off the deck here slightly, but even this minor perturbation, the solar wind stream, the plasma density are dropping off right now. We'll go back into KP0 again shortly, and we may have another cosmic ray warning in the morning. Whew, that was a tongue twister. Worldwide volcano news update. I'm sorry, I forget to push this button so you can see me. I'm doing a video, by the way. So I have other things to think about. Normal activity, volcanoes worldwide, but we would expect after a long run of KP0 for those cosmic rays to be heating the magma in the subsurface and something to kick off in the next few days in a big way. So heads up if you live near a volcano that's slightly active. Oh, that's not what we want. Trump may send 14,000 troops to the Middle East as Iran threat grows. Is the threat of World War III potentially growing? Or just another manufactured war for money? Either way, it's a manufactured war for money. People will suffer, no one will be safer, and you've all been duped. Oh, and you'll pay for it through your taxes. Climate change is causing birds to shrink, study says. And here they put two big birds next to small birds so that you think that, oh my God, look, they're all shrinking and turning blue. I mean, junk science is junk science. Climate always changes. Climate change is causing birds to shrink. How about human pollution? Pesticides, chemicals, not CO2, which is plant food. Birds exhale CO2, so do humans. CO2 does not cause birds to shrink, or their own exhalations would cause them to shrink. I mean, they're getting paid simply to create these papers. The only way they can get funded to do any research is to do research that supports the global warming narrative. So they do junk science with junk data and then publish junk articles to fill your brain with junk. Bird populations are being decimated by humans in third world countries who are catching them to eat because they're starving. Millions of songbirds are captured each year in nets because people have no food. Did you know that we have enough food to feed the entire planet 1.5 times over at any given day? Yet we throw out over 33% of all the food that's edible, right in the garbage. We don't even compost it. That's how pathetic and stupid the modern first world countries are. We're so awesome. Now, how the world passed a carbon threshold and why it matters. It doesn't matter. If you read the whole article, it matters not. In fact, any alarmist that uses this as evidence that we need to cut carbon emissions didn't read the article. I'm going to come read to you some of the most telling information here. So what they do is they actually supply with the actual information going back millions of years before present. So they take all of geologic history and they compress it down here. Very disingenuous. And this is like some logarithmic graph. And these are the catastrophic projections of where CO2 is going to take us and kill us. But they're about to talk about the past when CO2 was up in the same area, which is catastrophic. The last time the planet had concentrations of 300 to 400 parts per million was during the mid-Pliocene. So what they're doing is they're just translating this back here, right here. That was the last time, 3 million years ago. Okay? What they say is back then temperatures were 2 degrees to 3 degrees C warmer than currently. Sea levels were up to 25 meters higher. Forests grew in the Canadian North and grasslands abounded worldwide. The Sahara was probably covered in vegetation. That's a catastrophe. Could you imagine if you could grow food in the Canadian North and grasslands abounded worldwide, how catastrophic that would be? I mean, we could grow food on the entire planet. What a catastrophe. This is the stupidest paper, the dumbest argument, and someone sent it to me because they're having an argument with their alarmist friends, and they use this paper as evidence that we're all going to die. Well, they might have terrible thinkers, because what this paper just told us was that if CO2 rises to 2,000 parts per million or higher in one of the catastrophic scenarios, there will be grasslands worldwide and we'll be able to grow food in the Sahara. It's such a tragedy. And then the forest will be green and there'll be more plants than ever. Oh my God. 12 years left. Just 12 years till grasslands are everywhere and there's food growing in the Sahara. Now let's talk about some real science. NASA's Parker Solar Probe sheds new light on the sun. Well, what it does shed light on is the fact that we don't know anything about the sun, and I brought this to your attention a few days ago. The sun controls the climate. There's a cosmic catastrophe cycle that emanates from our sun every 12,600 years or so, causing mass extinction, the reorganization of humanity. And you're living that next flexure point. But what they are finding is these interesting switchbacks in the solar wind, because as the probe flew through the solar wind stream here, it noticed perturbations in the magnetic field of the plasma wind. So the solar wind was flipping its magnetism as it went through, revealing these switchbacks right there. There's one of them. They don't know what it means, but they also don't know how the sun works. So it's anyone's guess what fairy tale they're going to make up to explain that one. More fairy tales. There's something weird about the craters at asteroid Ryugu. Yeah, what's weird is that they're not probably craters. They're probably electric discharge points. And if they are craters, the objects were drawn into the satellite, being the asteroid, because of electricity. Now, what they found was most of the craters form around the weird central rim, that rim that makes things look like the Death Star or other things manufactured by aliens, which they're not. They're, in fact, scoured by electricity to create those shapes. Think about the shape of a natural diamond, and then look at the asteroid Ryugu. Simply a crystal lattice in a larger scale. Plasma scaling of crystal lattices, in my opinion. But Hayabusa 2, what it found was that the craters, the majority of the big ones here, are around the central rim. They're not evenly distributed, which shouldn't be the way they are if they're craters from impacts. So something is amiss, but we do have a 35-second clip here, so we might as well watch it. Take a look at that. This is pictures of a slow flyby of the Hayabusa, which is clearly not coming in very well. But can you imagine? This is like millions of miles away, a tiny spacecraft flying alongside of a tiny object in space at like 20,000 miles an hour. Absolutely amazing. Humans are smart when it comes to some things. Not so much when it comes to more practical, multidisciplinary sciences. When you're trying to bring the big picture together. It seems like compartmentalization over the last 30 years has made idiots out of experts. But I digress. I have a meeting to go to. It's very important. I'm sorry I cut this short this morning. We love each and every one of you. Thanks to all of our supporters. Thanks to all of the people who share these videos. Thank you. We love you. Proper prior planning prevents piss-poor performance. Start growing food indoors. Don't throw out the end of your celery or the end of your carrots. Stick it in water. Stick it in some dirt. Start to learn how to fail at being resourceful and self-reliant. There's going to be a time very soon that you're going to need these skills. We love you. Be safe. Let's go.